We define ourselves through our history, culture, and food, but we so rarely think to stop and ask, how does it all work? Revealed examines the hows and whys while pulling the curtain back on things you never thought to ask. On this episode, the American Museum of Natural History, its secrets and collections formed over more than 150 years.
Just an amazing place to study butterflies, the brain, Einstein, Darwin, meteorites, the origins of the universe. We try to do it all here, and that's what we try to communicate to the public.
The museum likes to say we have over 30 million specimens and artifacts under our roof in our collections.
It has the world's best dinosaur collection and state-of-the-art planetarium.
The American Museum of Natural History in New York City emerged just after the Civil War, during a time when curiosity about the natural world was surging. The museum's mission was clear: to rival the great institutions of Europe and showcase unparalleled collections of natural history.
Our mission is to collect, preserve, study, and communicate what we know to the general public.
So this bone is huge. You can see it's taller than me, but it's just the thigh bone of a dinosaur.
This is the first new permanent hall in 30 years, and it's devoted to insects.
From its humble beginnings in Central Park to the sprawling complex it is today, the museum continues to help reveal the secrets of our planet's natural history. The American Museum of Natural History is vast, taking up nearly 2.5 million square feet on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, but its exhibits rival museums around the world. The museum can trace its origins to 1869.
This was the first time in history there was a burgeoning middle class in cities. It was the first time there were folks who had spare time and spare cash for amusement and education.
But museums like this weren't always common, especially in the United States.
They were much more like, hey, look at all these birds we have.
Europe boasted London's British Museum and the National Museum of Natural Sciences in Spain, just to name a few. Meanwhile, in the US, museums like P.T. Barnum's American Museum were more commonplace and very light on science. They were often referred to as cabinets of curiosities and had exhibits that featured oddities, wax figures, human performances, and even live animals.
It was just after the Civil War. It was also 10 years after the publication of Darwin's On the Origin of Species.
But as society evolved, people became hungry for something more authentic. At a time when many believed the world was only a few thousand years old, new scientific discoveries were revealing that our planet might actually be hundreds of millions, if not billions, of years old. People wanted something better and more substantial to replace Barnum's American Museum when it burned down in 1868.
We needed something that would rival the capitals of Europe. Philadelphia, Washington had fledgling natural history museums at this time, but nothing like what was in London or Paris.
The museum was really the brainchild of Albert Bickmore, who had the idea for the museum in 1861. He was a naturalist working at a museum in Massachusetts, that he wanted to create a museum in New York City.
Bickmore traveled through Indonesia, East Asia, Siberia, and Europe, collecting specimens and studying ethnology. When he returned to the US, he knew where his museum must be built. He was drawn to New York City, already the capital of commerce in the United States, and decided it was here that he wanted to build.
He finally arrived in New York and started recruiting local aristocracy to get support for his plan.
And suddenly, he has managed to convince some of the big civic and financial leaders of this city that a natural history museum is a must.
Among the trustees that he recruited were J.P. Morgan and Theodore Roosevelt Sr., the father of President Teddy Roosevelt.
Before the building that houses the collections today, a temporary home would open in the Central Park Arsenal. Originally built as an armory for the New York State Militia, this is the second oldest surviving building in Central Park, even older than the park itself.
And you can see in these newspaper illustrations from back in the day, carriages lining up down Fifth Avenue to drop off visitors to visit the museum. as well as folks visiting the exhibits inside the space. These were not the type of exhibits you'd expect in a natural history museum today. This was not a museum that was interpreting science for the public, not yet. When the museum first opened in the Arsenal, the public reaction was very enthusiastic. In fact, collections started pouring in while the museum was still based at the Arsenal.
For the first few years, the museum was at the Arsenal. Bickmore talks about seeing a young 12-year-old Teddy Roosevelt there at the Arsenal building.
The museum would reside here from 1869 to 1877 before moving to its permanent home. Nearly $700,000 was raised for construction.
They had numerous plans. One was to have both the Natural History Museum and the Metropolitan Museum of Art right here. There was another plan to put this museum where the Metropolitan Museum of Art now is. They thought about putting it down by where the library is on Fifth Avenue.
They eventually settled on Manhattan Square, a prime plot of land on the Upper West Side that had been designated as a park space. Calvert Vaux and Jacob Ray Mould eventually designed the building. Vaux was fresh off designing nearby Central Park and another nearby museum.
They are the same architects who constructed the first building for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, our sister institution across the park.
There was even a proposal to connect the two museums with a promenade through Central Park.
The work began in 1872, only 3 years after the museum's founding. That first building, as we call Section 1 here at the museum, was completed in 1877.
The museum would open its doors at a ceremony hosted by President Rutherford B. Hayes. Today, the museum has grown to encompass many buildings that have been added over the last century.
So today there are 24 separate buildings in the museum's complex, depending on how you count, including our latest addition, the Richard Gilder Center.
Every few decades, they built another section. So you could think of it as one big building with many sections, or you could think of it as many buildings that are connected together. If you walk around looking at the oldest sections to the newest, you get to see a wide variety of architecture.
Today, the museum holds one of the world's largest collections of materials in the world, but it's also a world-class research institution. The museum is known for its research expeditions and advances in anthropology, astronomy, and entomology. This was even one of the first to establish a full-time anthropology department in 1873.
We have 175 scientists doing research here in the museum, and they also go out on the field on expeditions where they help assemble our collections.
The museum has attracted some of the most prominent names in research, from Franz Boas, the father of American anthropology, to the distinguished American astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. Margaret Mead, who was a renowned cultural anthropologist, also conducted significant research at this institution. Mead's groundbreaking work in the 20th century, particularly her studies of the cultures of the South Pacific, made her one of the most prominent anthropologists of her time.
The late 1900s and the early 20th century were a golden era for museum expeditions. The museum sent expeditions into Central Africa. Expeditions went to Central Asia, discovering some of the richest troves of paleontological specimens, most notably dinosaurs.
The dinosaur collection on display is one of the museum's highlights, featuring nearly 100 specimens. The aptly named Titanosaur stretches 122 feet in length, so large that its head protrudes beyond the exhibit room. The museum's first dinosaur specimen was collected in 1897.
A young Barnum Brown on an expedition with Henry Fairfield Osborn found the museum's first dinosaur specimen.
But the star of the show is often the T-Rex, drawing countless visitors, though the current exhibit is actually a newer specimen, not the original from the museum's collection.
Barnum Brown also was the discoverer of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He found his first specimen in 1902.
Brown, also known as Mr. Bones, was known for his flamboyant nature and reportedly would even wear a full-length fur coat on digs, and he was named after American showman P.T. Barnum. The T-Rex would go on display in 1915 and was the first in the world.
Then he found another fairly complete specimen 6 years later. So the museum had 2 T-Rexes. One of them they shipped to another museum. I believe it was during World War II time period, and they were afraid that if the museum got bombed, at least there'd be guarantee that there'd be 1 T-Rex remaining. Another member of the staff in the dinosaur hunting department was an individual named Roy Chapman Andrews, who discovered many specimens in Mongolia and China, and he is the inspiration for the character Indiana Jones.
His daring expeditions led to groundbreaking discoveries of dinosaur fossils, including the discovery of dinosaur eggs in 1923, the same year he made the cover of Time magazine. Coming up, a behind-the-scenes look at the collections you won't see on display.
Out of the whole museum's collection, 0.2% of our fossils are on display.
The Museum of Natural History draws nearly 5 million people through its doors each year. Its copious collections have made it one of the world's premier scientific institutions, with miles of exhibits that tell a story about the natural world, but not everything is available for the public to see.
One thing that might be surprising is that we have here something we call a big bone room. It's in the basement, it's not open to the public, and it's where we store really big bones, dinosaur limb bones, backbones, the vertebrae, even skulls.
So I'm Roger Benson, I'm the Macaulay Curator of Dinosaur Paleobiology at the American Museum of Natural History. So we've got lots of giant dinosaur bones here in the big bone room, but the biggest one probably is this femur or thigh bone. So it's also one of the oldest dinosaur bones in our collection. So this bone is huge. You can see it's taller than me, but it's just the thigh bone of a dinosaur.
The museum's Big Bone Room is like no other space in the world. It contains some of the oldest dinosaur fossils on the planet.
The bones are really big, and we keep them on racks going up 4 levels. So we have a giant forklift to move our giant bones around on the plastic pallets that we keep them on. The Big Bone Room contains about 1,000 bones. They're all big dinosaur bones. They belong to about 250 different individuals, mostly not complete, belonging to 50 different types of dinosaurs. We don't know how much all the bones together weigh, but we estimate it to be about 100 tons or slightly less. So scientists can learn a lot of things from fossil bones, learning things about what the animals looked like, what they were doing, who they're related to, and how evolution has proceeded through hundreds of millions of years. This animal weighed tens of tons and had a huge bony club on its tail. Out of the whole museum's collection, about 0.2% of our fossils are on display. They represent actually only a small fraction of the scientific value of the museum's collection.
100 dinosaur fossil specimens are on display on the museum's 4th floor. Notably, 85% of the specimens are genuine fossils rather than casts or replicas.
Most dinosaur fossils are not complete. Some of them even are just single bones, so we're pretty happy if we even get half the skeleton of a dinosaur.
Paleontologists often combine bones from different dinosaurs to create a full skeleton, and some pieces are made of casts.
It's pretty astonishing to me that we have any evidence left of animals that lived, 100 million years ago or more. Sometimes it's nice to go around and just touch the fossils and feel like you're touching a real dinosaur.
We've had some exhibits here for decades, and they are people's favorites. The blue whale in the Hall of Ocean Life is a must-see.
The towering 94-foot model is the largest in existence, suspended from the ceiling, standing as a powerful symbol of the museum's grandeur. But even a whale replica needs a good scrubbing. The museum cleans its whale every year.
We have exhibits of gems and minerals that have been on display for decades. There are dioramas that people really love, so everything from brown bears to Komodo dragons to lions and tigers and bears even.
All exhibits here are a seamless blend of art and science, where creativity meets meticulous research, especially the dioramas in the Akeley Hall of African Mammals.
One of the most iconic halls in the museum is the African Mammal Hall, which was the brainchild of Carl Akeley.
Akeley was an explorer and had many close calls with wildlife, including an instance where he killed a leopard with his bare hands. The animals, crafted with astonishing detail, combined real specimens with synthetic materials. Akeley was also friends with one of the museum's most famous patrons, Teddy Roosevelt, and even ran into each other on a hunting trip.
Carl Akeley and Teddy Roosevelt's son went and shot 4 of the elephants that are on the elephant exhibit in the African Hall. In the exhibit is an elephant shot by Akeley, 1 shot by Teddy Roosevelt, 1 shot by Teddy Roosevelt's son. There are now 8 taxidermied elephants.
The museum no longer conducts fieldwork in this way, and today is also home to live exhibits. Opened in 2023, the Insectarium features 18 live species, offering a glimpse into the diverse world of insects. It's one of the largest and newest exhibits the museum has to offer.
As you walk through the Insectarium, you get to kind of see their mating, their reproduction, how they eat, how they fly, how they're social. We have a mixture of live and pinned insects, as well as some kind of games that you can play. Hopefully people leave the Insectarium liking insects a bit more. This is the Dictyoptera, which are the termites. And I love this exhibit because it shows the variety in size, color, and shape. All of the termites are embedded in lucite, and you can kind of see them up close. My name is Dr. Jessica Ware, and I'm a curator and the division chair of invertebrate zoology. I've always loved insects. I love dragonflies and damselflies. So as a kid, I spent a lot of time near water. I went swimming up on a lake in northern Ontario, and they were always kind of landing around us. And I thought, those are very cool insects. They're very colorful.
Her childhood fascination blossomed into a career, and now her work takes her across the globe on museum-sponsored expeditions, where she collects specimens and uncovers the secrets of insect life. While the Insectarium offers visitors a fascinating glimpse into the world of insects, much of the real magic happens behind the scenes. Here, scientists interact with more than 24 million specimens in the invertebrate zoology department, which includes anything that doesn't have a backbone, like insects.
So when you come to the museum, the first 4 floors are the public floors, and this is where you see the dioramas. But then the next 4 floors are actually where the research happened. And some of these are quite old. So this was collected in 1947. So having collections, it's kind of like having snapshots in time. They tell us about where particular species were found. And that changes, right? With climate change, things are changing. Dragonflies are changing their ranges of where we can find them. So this kind of tells us like a baseline bit of information for all of the species that we have. So I think whenever you go into the collections, you kind of have a sense of wonder. Like right now, we're standing here and we know there's undescribed species all around us, right? Just waiting to be discovered. All these cabinets, they have things that have not yet been described. And I think that's kind of exciting.
A planetarium comes of age, and we'll show you how the research that has come out of these walls has revealed secrets about our world and the infinite universe. For over 100 years, the museum has inspired millions of people with its exhibits, instilling a love of science and the natural world across generations.
Like many New Yorkers and many former New Yorkers, the museum really holds a special place in our family's histories.
So this museum had a huge formative role on my life. When I was a child, I came here on a regular basis. The stores in here were where my parents got most of my Christmas and birthday gifts. It created a love for learning and a love for science in my life.
Exhibits and wings of the museum have come and gone, but it's the museum's famed planetarium that has captured the minds of millions. For years, the museum tried to build an astronomical section, dating back all the way to 1925. The original building was constructed in 1935 and funded by a $650,000 loan from the Reconstruction Finance Corporation and a $150,000 contribution from famed banker and philanthropist Charles Hayden.
The Zeiss company in Germany invented the Zeiss projector, which projects very realistic stars onto a planetarium dome. They needed to find someone to pay for the projector, and that person turned out to be Charles Hayden because he had seen the Adler Planetarium the summer before. So he ponied up the money for the projector, and that's why the planetarium was named the Hayden Planetarium.
It was called the Mark II, and it sparked wonder in both its projections and its appearance, with one city council member saying he could have looked forever at the projector. It became a beacon of science and exploration, offering the public a chance to look beyond their earthly hardships and gaze at the wonders of the universe. The original structure was replaced by the Rose Center for Earth and Space, which opened in 2000. It features a state-of-the-art space theater offering immersive and educational experiences about the universe. It's a legacy that can be traced back more than 100 years.
It's really amazing to work at the American Museum of Natural History. It's a really fantastic and unique place, not just for dinosaurs, but actually for our understanding of all animals and other biodiversity across Earth's surface today and in the past. If the AMNH or other museums like this didn't exist, we would know much less as humans about our place in Earth's biodiversity or our deep ancestry and the evolutionary history of life on our planet.
I think that if people walk away from this exhibit and they understand that there's more insects on Earth than there is anything else, and that we need to do our part to try and save them, I think that's a win.
Many of us come here as little kids, and that experience shapes who we are and what we value, and hopefully creates better stewards of our shared world.